That new intro's got to go.
Yeah, it does. Oh my god.
Oh, it's not going anywhere.
Thank you, LordAnubis.
Look, I hadn't heard that intro before because usually I'm in here on the other end if I'm not watching Twitch, but I saw it the other day and I'm like, oh my god, no, that I don't know what music
Thank
that
you.
is. It
Thank you.
does not fit the theme of anything.
It's so good.
Nothing.
Welcome back, or welcome for the first time, to Open Comms Radio, the #1 call-in show based around Star Citizen that airs on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host this evening, Duke Leto II, filling in for our usual host, JarJarJabroni. And tonight I also have with me my co-host, Cosmic Hobo.
Howdy, folks. As you might hear, a little under the weather. So my buddy Duke will be doing most of the talking this evening, but I'm here.
All right. That's really inconsiderate of Hobo to choose tonight to start dying and to lose his voice after Jar Jar put all this trust into us, to cover the show while he's away.
Well, oops. Can't control random ass viruses that just decide to invade your body.
That's true. You can't. If I learned anything from World War Z, no, actually, no. I think you learned in that movie that you can, right? As long as you're sick enough with something else, then the virus won't get you.
I much preferred the book. Like
I
know that is not a popular, like that's not an unusual opinion by any means, but the book was so
the
much
book was
better.
pretty cool. It was cool. Well, we're gonna do our best. Jar Jar's not here, so he left us in charge, and while Jar Jar is away, the children will play. So we're gonna try to stay on track here tonight. Try not to mess it up too bad, but no promises. Basically, we're gonna be relying on our guests to kind of keep us on track, probably more than we will ourselves. Let's see. So tonight we have a question, and the question for tonight is, what was our question tonight? Do you remember, Hobo?
Are you getting crafty in the verse?
Are you getting crafty? Well, I would ask you, Hobo, but I don't want to torture you. So I think we'll probably just start off. We'll probably bring up our first guest here. If you've never heard the show before, or this is your first time tuning in, feel free to join us, call in, share your thoughts, opinions. Um, we have a question of the day, which we try to keep on track with, but we'll stray a little bit here and there too, and that's okay. That's how we roll. So we'll bring you up one at a time. We're going to start tonight. He's been on the show a couple times before now, I think. We're going to bring up Pluto. Pluto, come on up here.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome, Pluto. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. All right. Our question for this evening: are you going to get crafty?
I would like to get crafty.
Specifically in Star Citizen, by the way. I'm not.
Expand on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'd like, I doubt the system is going to allow this, but I would love the ability to create like the most garbage weapons that you could conceive of out of the machine, and then leave them for people to find or loot out of my backpack.
Okay.
That is positively diabolical.
Yeah. I think that's possible, right? Because you could just craft it from very low quality materials and then leave like 200 of them in your backpack so that someone has to go through each one looking for that diamond in the rough.
Well, no, that'd be too obvious. The key is to leave one weapon in your backpack that they're guaranteed to take, and then when they use it, it explodes in their hand.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I imagine that
I like the idea.
that might be possible with some of the wear and tear once that's added as well, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
if they, depending on how universal the system is, we may very well be able to make a pistol out of pressurized ice.
Hmm. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Okay. So as far as your day-to-day crafting in the verse, you picture yourself focusing your time on making
Totally.
others miserable?
Indeed, yes.
Okay.
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 Respectable, I suppose.
Yeah. Man's gotta have a code, so that's good.
We gotta do something
Is
with all of the misfired products the machine's going to make.
is there any aspect to the crafting that you don't see yourself engaging in?
Apparently we're all going to have to engage it because the store weapons are just garbage for reasons unknown.
It's a pretty typical balancing thing to do, is to make the stuff you can buy at the store or loot off of NPCs. Like even in the tech preview that I was in, because I'm Ducati, haha, um, there were pistols that the NPCs dropped, and they're already at 60% durability, so they're going that route for that.
That seems pretty reasonable for just like pirates and NPCs and stuff.
Yeah, they were
But
just random NPCs that loved
buying a
stealing.
brand new weapon from the store and it just outright is garbage.
Hmm.
I can see, you craft one and it's better, but why does the one from the store have to be considered bad?
Well, obviously, I think the out of lore reason is so that people craft, right? Um, but what could be an in lore reason?
Gun control.
Control.
Well, we can't have that because we have the militia mobilization initiative.
Yeah, but we get the surplus. Like we don't get the good stuff. We get the
That's
surplus.
the only, I'm gonna say that's the only thing I can think of. The war effort. They get all the good guns, and we get all the stuff the machine made by accident.
And then we get the leftovers. Oh,
Hmm.
hey, Duke, you were asking about the footage that Broccoli made. It's up right now.
Nice. See now, this is footage from an Idris battle that some of our org mates were involved in, and some boarding and fighting on the Idris and stuff. So this would be one of those times maybe where having crafted weapons would be pivotal, right? If you had something that fires more bullets per second than somebody else's, you're going to want to have that with you to go boarding.
I could have used crafted tools in this case because we need to fix the address, and it was a mess.
Mm.
And
Do you
anything
think
to
we'll
make
be
it go
able to?
faster.
Do you think we'll be able to craft bigger magazines? I'd love to throw a drum mag on a P8 SE.
I know
Interesting.
we couldn't craft ammo in the tech preview. Like it
Now that
wasn't.
seems like something we should be able to craft.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
you'd think.
huge. Yeah, I was going to ask you, Pluto, like what sort of things do you think that you would actually bother crafting in bulk? And then that question was just answered. I mean, the one thing that I think everyone would bother doing is ammo.
Oh my
Solid
god!
gold FS9s.
Wow,
Okay,
it's a
I
choice.
mean, the Nine Tails would love them.
true.
I think Sweet would love one.
Do we think we'll see more people setting up impromptu shops of their own once we get crafting?
Certainly could, but not if everybody has their own crafter and the ability to get material.
True. The
It
ability, but do they
does.
have the time or the
This is
desire?
true. You pay to skip, which is what the entire game is teetering on.
Hmm.
The differentiating factors are really the blueprints, because everything else, yeah, you can make better weapons that you could sell, but so can the other guy. But if he doesn't have that blueprint of that specific weapon, that's that's something quote unquote rare enough that might necessitate you to go out and buy it.
From the pledge store.
Did they talk at all about blueprints being something that we could trade?
I'm sure you probably can't trade a pledge one, but ones you earn in game,
Right.
I think those are supposed to be tradable.
Yeah, it's when you pick it up, it's tied to your self, to your person. But I believe the way they said it, because they love their physicalization, you could then physicalize the blueprint you want to trade, but then you lose access to it, I think, is the route they're going with that. And that would be the thing you would trade away.
Interesting. I will think. Speaking of people with lots of money, we got a blue blood who's listening in right now. Let's call him up. We got this gentleman has been on plenty of times before. LordAnubis.
Okay. First of
Okay,
all, I have no money. Sorry.
but you're a blue
Broke.
blood.
Uh, yes, but that's due to a lack of oxygen and a leaky heart valve.
Oh, all right. So how will you get crafty?
Hell, like, sorry, 1 second.
Welcome to the club.
No problem. No problem. Cough up a lung. We're all doing it nowadays, apparently.
No, I literally had just taken a drink of some water, and that fucked me up. Sorry about that. How will I get crafty? Well, I will reference the greatest MMO of all time. That
Oh
is
Lord.
pre-CU Star Wars Galaxies. And from what I've seen of their previews, they want to go along those routes. So, you know, uh, I will grind the shit out of making various things in order to build up my skills. So my results when I do craft things are higher than others. I will require higher quality materials, and people will gather them for me, and I will pay them for those higher quality materials. And then they will go, "Oh, but I want your really cool weapons that you make." And like, okay, well, pay me this or bring me these materials, I'll make you that. It creates a real economy. So weapons crafting or components crafting, you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna do ahead of time, because you're probably gonna have to specialize in that in order to be able to get better results, to produce better equipment than other people. That's the driving force of the crafting. If they make it all equal, that you can max out everything so easy that anybody can do it, it's going to ruin crafting.
Hmm.
But from what I understand, that's not the case. You're going to have to level things up.
So you're gonna have crafting skills in different categories.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want a weaponsmith that can also do all the vehicle shit or the vehicle weapons. Like, you'd have to specialize. It's the only way to create a player economy that you can have people who stand out. Like, oh, go to this guy. He makes the best ship weapons. He's been just grinding away for years, and now he has like the greatest ones you could ever buy. He's expensive as hell, though. If you want that, but there's people who are cheaper who also make good stuff too. You have to have that kind of like gradient in quality. And it has to matter. That's the other thing. They have to be relevant to your stats. So if you're running around and you're using shields that are supposed to be the best and you're just getting, stomped by, PvE, then there really isn't any point to it. So hopefully Sid can take care of that part and stop being so fair with everything, because you really do have to have skills. And it's not just Twitch skills, it's also about the components you choose and the time and effort you put into it, because if it's just going to be what it is right now, it's not going to work.
Well, I think I don't know. I think Chris might have something to say about that. I mean, he's shown that he definitely wants it to be a true skill based world, right? He doesn't want everything to be based on, well, I'm a level 300, so I'm going to be a level 50.
No, but if I put 10,000 hours into learning a craft, which in my real life I do, I'm starting to do more engineering projects for the company that I'm working with, but my main job is to put things together and advise on how to work on scaling that up for full production, things like that. So if I put 5,000 hours into that, then I would think that I would have learned how to make a better project than someone who just started. And that carries over into the game.
Well, you'd think, as you say, you'd think that would be the case. Sometimes it's not, though, right? I mean,
And
the
that,
new guy can show up and he's just got the skills.
yeah, usually that comes from somewhere though. They don't just have the skills; they learned it somehow. Myself, I learned everything at home. Spent 5 years, just like honing all the little crafts that I have. So when I show up at the job, I know a bunch of things already. But the the new person who shows up and they're amazing, they didn't just like show up and they're amazing. They spent years becoming amazing.
But I think the issue with, the skill-based system that you talked about is it locks everyone into the same system for learning those skills, right? So it deletes any chance of someone coming along who's just more capable.
Well, I mean, we are talking about avatars in a game, so that grinding would reflect simulated real world experience in how to craft things, because I could show anybody how to paint a panel, but they're not going to necessarily understand the fundamentals of how that paint gets applied, and temperature and moisture and things like that come into applying the paint. Is the paint chemistry correct? Things like that. So in the game, things like that would be translated as grinding, because you do get a feel for it. It's not just do this and it does it. There's a lot that goes into everything you do. And part of your experience is getting that mind body connection in your skills. And that's experience. So grinding would translate into that as far as better results and stats.
Speaking of experience, we have another caller with loads and loads of experience.
Before you bring up our next caller, let me do one of our 2 ad reads. Vix, when you're 6, Papa Vix. Please don't rhyme our name with anything else.
What?
Right?
Rowboat.
No, you
What
heard
ad was that?
that was for Vix.
Where is
When you're
Vix?
6.
What is Vix? Where is it?
I
Vix.
imagine it's sitting on Hobo's counter right now.
Yeah, I've got a couple bags of them.
I've got it in my hair.
I've got
Vapo
another
cool.
commercial that was sent over to us.
Oh, all right, save it. We still got a lot more
Wait,
show to
yep,
go.
we got time. We got time.
We could do a 15-minute
Alright.
commercial break.
So we have
We need the
another
money.
caller, lots of experience. You know him, you love him, hopefully. Wicket, come on up, buddy.
Citizens, longtime listener, forced occasional caller.
Forced.
No, I'm not forced. I jump in the clown car willingly. That new intro's got to go.
Yeah, it does. Oh my god.
Oh, it's not going anywhere.
Thank you, LordAnubis.
Look, I hadn't heard that intro before, because usually I'm in here on the other end if I'm not watching Twitch, but I saw it the other day and I'm like, oh my god. No, that I don't know what music
Thank
that
you.
is. It
Thank you.
does not fit the theme of anything.
It's so good.
Nothing.
So
Mm-mm.
Wicket, are you getting crafty in the verse?
Well, not yet. I'm not at Evo, but I've consumed a lot of content of folks that are in Evo and have tested the systems. Of course, I've listened to some of what you guys had said, and overall, I'd love to get crafty. And long and short of it is, I think it's a good first step from what I've heard so far, but along with the way they're going to do crafting in the future and how quality works, I think it's a misstep. And hear me out. So right now, they're gonna like you're gonna have to get certain components to craft. Like you need aluminum, you might need iron, you might need plastic, whatever the case may be, whatever the ingredients are, and depending on where you harvest those ingredients, there's going to be a quality attached with it. And it seems like the quality is tied to the perceived danger of the system. In other words, Stanton supposedly is the safest area, so anything you harvest there, the quality isn't going to be as high as, for example, if you go to Pyro, where Pyro's an unlawful system, and the harvestables there are going to have a higher quality. And if you use a higher quality component in a recipe, a schematic or blueprint, whatever they're calling it, then you're going to get a better result. So in other words, if you craft a weapon, if you use low quality components and you craft it and you get a good roll, or I don't know even know how that part of it works. Let's say if you just use the lowest quality stuff, it's just going to make the same kind of weapon that maybe you get in the store. I don't know the exact particulars, but let's say per se. But then if you go to Pyro and harvest there and you get a higher quality component resources to craft with, then like let's say instead of your rounds per minute out of your gun being 10, now there may be 20, double. Just hypothetical. We don't really care about the numbers. It's the whole idea of it. Which that's fine in and of itself, but for example, aluminum, let's say one of the recipe resources that you have to harvest is aluminum. The thing that I find kind of dumb is aluminum is aluminum. All right. Whether you harvested on Earth or in Stanton or in Pyro or Nix,
Not if
Hawaii,
you
I
harvest
don't
it
care.
in Great Britain, though, because then it's aluminium.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
Yeah,
same
you're
thing.
wrong.
Boom.
But the
Own.
Own.
That's
the
logic.
atomic nature of the component doesn't change. There's no such thing as a
True.
high quality aluminum. You know, that's what refining is for. You know, if you harvest something, if you harvest raw ore, right? When you go to harvest that raw ore, there may be more impurities in it. So when you go to refine it, you should get less raw ore out of it because it's not as pure. But if you find a higher quality ore, then it should refine to more aluminum. In other words, if you have low quality
Agreed.
aluminum
Yep.
ore, you harvest it, you refine it, and then you may get like one SCUI of aluminum out of it. But let's say you go to Pyro and you find a more pure form of that ore and you refine it, then you should maybe get a 2 SCUI result or whatever. I'm just using rough numbers. They don't
yeah.
have to be exact, but you get the point.
Yeah, and then the refining should be what gives you the quality.
Yes. Well, where it's refined, like right now, certain refineries have bonuses. They've had that forever. You might have a better result, but that also that had to do at the time when you harvested a mineral. And I know we're talking about harvesting now, but this all has a point when it comes to crafting. When you harvested the materials and you refined them, every ore that every asteroid or every rock you mined, whether it's planetary or out in space, had a mixture of elements. And when you refined it, you would get depending on where you refined, you get a higher or lower amount out. So that's fine. But now that we're going to go to a single ore, like if you go to mine something, it only has aluminum and inert. So that's fine. But then the refining process would dictate how good or how much of it you get, because aluminum is aluminum, or gold is gold. I think where the quality should come in is the recipe itself, the blueprint. In other games, you start off with a basic blueprint, and then you research that blueprint, and by researching the blueprint, and research is just a process that takes time. For instance, in some other games, but as you do more research on the blueprint, it becomes better. And so, how do you make money off that? Well, let's say you could copy the blueprint, and let's say Duke has a blueprint for a pistol, and I have the same blueprint for the pistol, but mine has 3 levels of research in it, so the quality of it is going to be 200 or 300% better than his. Just for instance, rough numbers. So I could make let's say there's a way to make a copy of that. Now my copy would sell for more than his plain Jane copy. And that's how you can then make money in the crafting game without even making the item. And now let's say if that's a rare resource or it's a limited use blueprint or recipe, you can only make it so many times. And then the schematic degrades to where you can't use it anymore. It's trash. You have to get a new copy. That's the other question I had. In the whole blueprint thing, or do they call them blueprints or recipes? What do they call them in Star Citizen?
They've been calling them
Blueprints.
blueprints.
Okay, so they're the blueprints. I think in Evocati they gave you some blueprints to play around with and test, right? And then there was another one that you could get from doing a Evocati mission, and then that the reward was a blueprint.
They tied it to one of the Gilly missions.
Right. So you did the mission, and then you got that blueprint. Now I don't know. Right now in Evocati, is it you can just reuse that same blueprint over and over and over and over again, right?
Correct.
And how does it work? Do you just get it in your inventory, and you have to have it in your inventory to use it at that crafting station, or do you have to plug it into the crafting station?
It's tied to you, the character.
So once you get it in your inventory, it's just part of you. It's like knowledge, per se.
Not even really in your inventory. It's
not a physical
kind of-
thing.
So do you
Correct.
consume it basically? You learn
I
and
never
consume.
did the missions to get the ones. I only had the starting ones, and Rob and I started in Checkmate. And the Gilly missions were over in Hurston, and I believe ship weapons were broken.
Gotcha.
So the
we
starting
didn't get that
blueprints
stuff.
you got, they were just accessible when you interacted with the crafting machine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a problem, because especially since the way they want to physicalize everything, blueprints should be a physicalized thing. I should be able to kill you and loot you and take your physicalized blueprint. That would be better. That would be a more interactive gameplay, especially for how they're physicalizing everything. Why not that? Then those blueprints themselves have a value. The other thing about the blueprints, I know this is early days and this is just the Evocati, the initial here's how blueprints are going to work. But as they develop it, I'm hoping that they will become physicalized. Not only that, I hope not only are they becoming a mission reward, but maybe basic ones you could buy, like on the market, just like at a shop. Okay, you know, because let's say you buy a gun like a Cuda gun, and hopefully this would really make crafting very, very worthwhile. Let's say over time there's wear and tear on that Cuda handgun, and the only way to repair, you can either
Hold on.
throw
Say
it
it again.
away.
What did you
Wear and
say that
tear.
was? No.
Wear
Back
and
a little
tear.
further.
Is
What
it
did
a
you call the
Cuda? I
gun?
thought it was a Coda.
Coda.
Coda. Okay,
do
sorry.
you keep your Cuda
No.
in your woof?
No, he's
and
correct. His weapon is a 1971 Plymouth Barracuda with a shaker hood and a Keith Black engine.
Anyway,
in Plum Crazy.
And I
let's just
think
say that
they are
handgun.
planning on having the blueprints physicalized as well.
Okay, well that's good to know. And hopefully then also a way crafting will be used is to repair wear and tear on items. You know, like let's say you had that Coda 50, and let's say let's say after shooting it 100 times, it starts exhibiting a lot of wear and tear, maybe misfires, or maybe it doesn't shoot at all, or maybe it just doesn't work. You know, you pull it out and you click, nothing. The only way you can either throw it away, buy a new one, craft a new one, or maybe throw it in your crafting box and repair it. Or maybe even upgrade it. better.
I never thought I'd
And
really
then
say this,
the
Wicket,
whole
but
blueprint thing.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely.
Thank you. The other thing is that the whole crafting system, maybe being based on since we don't have an XP system where you don't as you level up, we're not leveling up. So everything is knowledge based. You're a good pilot because you've been piloting a long time. You've put the time in to learn how to fly your ship very well. So there's no real way to do that with crafting. So that's why the whole research and making stuff better, making recipes or blueprints better. Then it's cool that they decide away the blueprints through as a reward for completing missions. It would also be super awesome if when you go to some of all these different installations we have all over the verse, bunkers, you have the distribution centers, the asteroid bases, the tech smuggler missions. If they can retrofit crafting stations into those where the NPCs might be crafting themselves, because now that they've brought crafting to the verse, it would make sense that the NPCs are also crafting.
Absolutely.
What if you stumble upon one of those and you find like a rare recipe, or you loot some NPC and you loot a rare recipe, and maybe it's limited use. There's so many ways that I hope they think about doing after they put like the tier 0 or tier 1 implementation that they now have in Evocati. These are just some hope would eventually come to crafting, having not been able to do it myself yet. I think it's a really good idea. I think it opens up so many more gameplay avenues and so many things to resource gathering, crafting, economy. All the pieces, are starting to come together to make this bigger, better whole. And hopefully they don't slip up and mess up.
Now, with
Okay.
these NPC crafters that you're talking about in the bunkers, do you think? I mean, so one of the things with all this crafting is the economy, which requires player to player, transactions. If you're running to, a bunkers crafting station because that's the best station to use or whatever, I think that kind of removes the economy from it altogether at that point.
Well, there could be the player economy as well. If you're going there, it's just like the CZs we have now, right? It's not really part of the economy, but it becomes part of it because that's just where you get these rare items from. So it could be the same thing. People who are really into FPS, that's their way of joining the economy, right? They go into these bunkers, they fight the bad guys, they get the higher level blueprints, and then they sell them because they don't want to put their
Yeah,
time into manufacturing, but they do like shooting stuff.
but the manufacturing itself is the part where it's like, okay, so if you're having an NPC do that for you, because it's a high quality blueprint, but the NPC is going to manufacture it for you. I mean, I think that removes it removes that player component again. I mean, I think if a player who has, now we do have things like reputation, which open up higher level missions. So, if you work up your crafting reputation, then you get higher level abilities to unlock off of blueprint. So you're going to want to find someone with you know, a, just like someone can call up a VHRT for you. They can call up that extra little feature that you would get from a higher crafted weapon.
I do like the idea of the blueprints being limited too, like Wicket was saying. And that's not, somebody was arguing this with me before. They were like, "Well, it's stupid. Why would a blueprint break?" And it's not the blueprint breaks; it's that it's contracted, right? Like you're only allowed so many uses on that blueprint's contract before it runs out.
Well, in like EVE Online, right? They have what are called called blueprint originals and blueprint copies. Now, blueprint originals were handed out probably 15 years ago. Okay. I don't even think you can find blueprint originals in the game anymore. All blueprints you find now are copies of those originals. And all those originals, somebody found them at the time, or purchased them, or uncovered them, or got them part of as a reward, or looted them from killing an NPC, and they found these quote unquote original blueprints. Now, an original blueprint is usable forever, obviously. It's not a copy. What made limited use was the copying system, because you could make a blueprint, but the blueprint would only work for so many uses, and then after those so many uses, the blueprint would decay, so it wouldn't work in the quote unquote crafting machine anymore. And that's the way they got around that, to make originals and copies of originals valuable. Now, of course, before you made a copy, you did the whole researching arc of the game, where you put in research into which was just another version of crafting, but it was only for the blueprint. And then you could research efficiency, you could research material efficiency, you could research the crafting took less time, and you could do a mix of those. I think you could do a mix of those things. So most people, they did the material efficiency, because less goo to put into the machine component. Then the other thing I have not seen yet in Star Citizen for crafting is, in most games nowadays, the crafting is multi-tiered. So, for example, if you want to make a gun, you're going to have to craft a receiver, then you're going to have to craft a barrel, you're going to have to craft a handgun, a handle, a trigger, whatever, the different components. Like, let's say there's 3 or 4 components for a handgun, maybe 5 components for a primary weapon, a two-handed weapon. And let's say if that's the case, then you should have to craft those subcomponents, and then take those subcomponents and assemble them into a whole.
That
That would be
exists.
interesting.
Does it work? Is that working now?
The way that the crafting works as it currently stands is, yes, a gun has multiple components. A pistol has 3 components. A rifle and larger has like 4. And you put in the resources to those components, and then it makes the end result.
So that way
But it's
you can
all a
get different.
one-step process, right?
It's clearly designed to be able to do it for multiple steps for larger projects. Like, if you only have at the time aluminum, you can put in the aluminum, or copper, or whatever. So you can come back later if you need to go get the other parts. But
But you
yes,
can't,
at this time, it is still just input,
right?
output.
Because you can't have like an
Yeah.
inventory full of completed gun barrels.
Correct. Not the way
Not
that
yet.
it's set up currently. I don't know if they plan on changing that, or if this is the plan.
I can't wait to have 500 trigger springs and 200 cotter pins.
Well, it would be interesting if you can do that, and so that you can have different quality levels, however they decide to do that, right? So you could be the guy that has, oh, you want the best trigger, you got to go to Pluto. He's got the best triggers, and you could just specialize in that.
But at the time, right now, that's all at one step. So it's like you want a better trigger, you have to put your resources towards the trigger in that step,
In
and
in this
then it
in this,
will
yeah.
pump out the gun with the better trigger.
And another way of doing the quality thing, right? Let's say instead of making high quality aluminum, low quality aluminum, you could just say that certain like right in the Evocati now, certain ores can only be mined on certain moons and then certain systems, per se, right? So in other
I think
words,
that's
Yep.
how it's set up now.
if you need corundum, right? you have to go to the moon or planet where corundum is. And let's say it's
Yeah.
only in Pyro on one planet or moon
Yeah, and
and nowhere
that's one of the
else.
big changes to mining that they did. Is
Okay,
that it's
Yeah,
so
that's in Evo right now.
well,
okay.
Evo is not up right now, but yes.
So in the latest test the systems, that's how it is. So instead of having high quality metals and low quality metals, they should just give you if you know, instead of saying aluminum for this part, they should say any metal, any gem, any this or any that. And then, you know, for instance, iron could be substituted by steel, could be substituted by aluminum, could be substituted by titanium. And each of those are, you know, one is quality 100, one is quality 500, and another one could be quality 800 if you decide to go with titanium, because titanium is, of course, of all those metals, it's the superior metal, but it's usually the most expensive metal. Then you just need to make sure that titanium is hard as fuck to get.
I like all that, but we have a question in chat. It's from Skeeter, and actually would help provide some context to what has been said so far. From Skeeter, wait, what are they doing to mining? Adding quality? I'll start with that first question. So they completely redid the resource distribution from mining in the tech preview. It is still a work in progress, as they said, but the short of it is that materials will be specifically to certain areas now. And when you find those materials, it'll be just that material. So if you're looking for copper, you go to, I don't know, a moon around Hurston, we'll say, Daymar. Let's say you go to Daymar and Daymar has copper. So you go to Daymar, it has copper, you're looking for copper, you'll find that sort of thing. And as far as quality goes, we didn't really see that implemented in the tech preview. We only saw sort of the placeholders for it, and we only really saw the placeholders for durability as well. So we only sort of have an idea of what they want to do with that. But yeah, we'll see probably in a future. I think we're going to see it on the PTU within the next week or two. Like, I think it's going to come pretty soon.
Can I
I
answer a
think,
question from chat?
Sure.
Yes, go for it.
I understand you don't mind steel, but you can refine steel. So steel, I just use that as a catch-all. But you know, that's a very interesting observation, Skeeter. That what if you take iron and then you're able to refine pure iron into steel instead of just iron?
And I think
For
Requires
that's
example,
carbon.
Which way are you going to use? The
Where
Bessemer
did it-
process?
it depends.
but that is interesting because that adds more gameplay, right? Now you're bringing
Yeah.
refinery into it, and because I feel like some of these changes take away some of the gameplay from mining. Like it's nice that so, I mean, like the coolest thing is that you can see the materials within a rock from like 5K out, is what I'm hearing right now. Um, but as of like, there's no because you can see what it is, you know what you're looking for, and then you're just out looking for high quality rock.
It's also on the
Um,
star map. So you look like on the star map and go, this planet has copper or whatever. So I know where to go.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like they took away some of the depth by removing like the idea of I'm looking for this material, so I need to look for igneous rock because that's going to have the highest chance of finding it. Um, I feel like they could have left that in, but
I
like
think
Wicket
that's
was
still going to
saying,
be a thing. Like, we just know that copper is somewhere on the planet, and you want to do some
right?
There's
ground.
two.
But
There's
like
two
Wicket
sides
was
of a
saying,
coin here. One side of the coin is finally exploration. You send a ship out there, and then you're like, oh, this world has copper on it. The other side of the coin is we're in UEE territory and everything's been charted.
For Stanton, yeah. For Pyro, I think there's room for having question marks. Same goes for Nyx.
Apparently,
Well,
didn't the lore
if
says
pure
the
realism,
Lord Pyro
then
is supposed to be tapped out?
Well,
yeah, and
they did.
if you go with realism, you probably anything worth mining has probably been mined in every one of these systems.
Yeah.
Or
Right. Look at
but for
ArtCorp.
gameplay, you could do a scanning. So you could come up with a scanning system where you scan. I don't know if it would be like a whole moon or a hemisphere or a quarter of a hemisphere, and you got a heat map, and then the heat map indicated, a certain type of deposit, and then as you got closer, it becomes more granular, and then that helps you determine, okay, I'm going to scout in this area because this looks like the best area for this ore I'm looking for. But I still don't think that the ore should have quality. I think the quality should come from the mining refinement, not
I
the
agree.
ore itself.
It should have a purity so that you know how concentrated it is, but it shouldn't
Yeah,
have
that
the quality.
could be a thing. That could be a
Quality should
thing.
Well,
come from the
Less
refining.
inert. Like if they want to do that, if they want to tie more purity into it, copper's more pure in pyro than it is in Stanton. It's kind of hokey, but I guess that could work.
So
I
they
mean,
actually did kind of hint at that a little bit with everything in the tech preview, Chris, was like it was stand-in. It was all placeholder. And one of the ways that they sort of hinted at that was at the time, everything now was you get one resource and you get one inert for mining from something. So all they'd need to do in that instance would be changing the slider for quality as far as the way you're describing it as more of a purity thing, and then maybe doing more of the actual quality within the refinement process. We don't know exactly yet how quality is being implemented. I say that
Right.
straight up. They've not been entirely clear on how that's going to work. So there's still room for that to be the way you've described.
Well, everything that I've described is just kind of spitballing, brainstorming,
extent.
hoping, based on what I've heard, based on information I've seen, some videos I've watched over the last couple of days where people describe their limited experiences with crafting and also with mining that some people did, and posted some videos online. Now they didn't show anything; they were just talking about it and using stock footage that's been cleared to be released. But based on what they were talking about, that's where I'm coming up either with these questions / ideas.
just to be extra annoying, I want to mention Star Wars Galaxies again. It really was the
As you do.
greatest crafting and player economy experience. And
If it was so great, what happened to it, Anubis?
you want to know what happened? World of Warcraft. We want to get into this rabbit hole. World of
No, we don't. All
Warcraft
right,
happened.
go back. Finish your thought.
World of
But
Warcraft was a great game.
it was a great game. It was a completely different type of game, but Sony figured, well, we want to make more money, so let's copy that one.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite work out because the
Sony
way,
and watching MMOs, name a better combo.
yeah, I mean, back in the 90s and into the early 2000s, when you had game designers, these were people that were like true artists. They were passionate about what they did. I mean, to the point of obsession where they almost turned development into a science in order to make the game as fun as possible. Because I mean, look how much little or fewer resources they had, and how much harder it was to make a game back then.
And a
So
lot of
when they
stuff back
planned
then
out
was
something
also
like an
new.
MMO, yeah, and when they planned out an MMO, it was more akin to something like D&D, or like where it has these rules that really have long-term effects. And that is now the reason I am hopeful is because a lot of what I've heard in the citizen cons we do, and all of the the whatever videos they do with I don't know, they have like 15 different series about everything about Star Citizen on as far as SIG. But everything they've described seems to be along those lines of people who genuinely want to make something in the vein of that game theory type of you know development, from the 90s and the early 2000s. So I'm excited about that. It's the only thing that's keeping me, hoping, and wanting to play this game for the next 10 years is the fact that they have said that is specifically what they want to do. They want to make it complicated. They want to make it fun. They want to make a reason why you have to connect with other people.
Okay.
And
You heard it here,
I'm excited for
CIG.
our next sponsor, Traditional Medicinals. Throat Coat. The Throat Goat. And I'm
What?
getting a text from Jar Jar.
Okay. Don't do that one again.
What was that?
That's okay. So you heard it here, CIG. If you want to be successful, just copy a 23-year-old defunct MMO. So recently,
Yes.
OpenComs had our first, I think it was our first poll. The question was, what do we think about dual wielding for Star Citizen? And tied for first place in the responses was, with 33% of the votes, yes, please, dual wielding is fun. And no, it's unrealistic and arcadey. So as you can see, really successful poll, their clear-cut answer from our listeners there.
I got to say, from a real world perspective, yes, dual wielding is unwieldy. It really worked really well. You have to be extremely experienced to do something like that. And from a realistic perspective, I'm going to call crap on calling it dual wielding because we all know the term is dual fisting as coined
No.
Thank you.
by
Yes.
Wicket.
No. Yeah. Wicket, the original dual fister.
Yeah, he takes
Listen,
both those fists as hard as he can.
listen. The whole idea with dual wielding, dual fisting is it's the fun aspect. It's not supposed to be lore accurate or
Mhm.
physically accurate. I mean, if you want to be accurate, the amount of force that we apply to our ships and to our bodies in these spaceships we fly around in, half the time
Yeah,
we
force
should
our
always all
bodies.
be blacked out.
True.
Oh yeah, pushing to the edge where you're almost blacking out because it's just like you're just getting those fists, and it's just
I mean,
like
have you
it's a fun, pleasurable experience, right?
No.
think about when you go to land at a hangar somewhere and you have to make that little jerky motion because you're about to hit the wall or something. That alone would be probably enough to break your neck in some
Yeah, well,
ships.
we have inertial dampeners.
Oh,
So
do
then
we?
you
I
get off
never
the
heard
ship.
that.
No, we don't have
Oh.
Yeah.
inertial dampeners. Only the elevators have inertial dampeners.
Oh, they definitely have inertial dampeners. That's true. We
But
also had a comment from the internet, which I'd like to share. I think some interesting point of view, may possibly. Let's see. So Vioblight or Vioblight says, hate to add on to the scope creep, but one day a bullet-resistant shield and a power sword would be cool. Maybe for close quarters combat boarding or something. I own a Legionnaire, and I feel like my boarding party will get shredded or grenaded as soon as my boarding doors open. Hope we get something, basically Space Marines, or maybe flashbangs when it opens. IDK.
We need
What you are
non-lethal
looking for
options.
is the one-hand tractor beam and a full SCU box to just hold in front of you.
No, what you need is a breaching saber.
no,
and
what now?
it's 1,000 years in the future. These motherfuckers better have invented a damn lightsaber by then, right? And you EVA to the damn ship, right? And you Qui-Gon, the side of the ship, just cut a hole right through there to open a door, and that's how you breach.
Well, you die instantly when you breach the air seal and it thunks that hunk of metal into your chest and you fly away.
No. I mean, you'll kind of crack it open at first, and it's just like
So is
you
is
know.
that ship supposed to physically breach through the wall of a ship, or does it have like some kind of mechanism for that, or is it supposed to be just able to dock with the ship,
I
the
don't know if they've
Liberator?
confirmed because
The
they said it was
Legionnaire?
going to include hacking, right?
Yeah, it
Okay.
was
Mm,
gonna dock onto airlocks, doors, and
Right.
docking ports, and
Just
that's
can't
hack
this.
come
your
in
way.
at like it just can't come in at a couple hundred miles an hour and just pierce through the
No,
exterior of
that's
the
what the
ship and open
Vandal
up.
boarding pods do.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Vandal does.
I'm
The
sorry,
Legionnaire is going to
but
hack
it's
its
not going to
way
be
in.
any fun. That's
I
not
don't
going to
even,
be any
I
fun
don't
unless
get
I
the
can just.
Legionnaire.
Well, if you think about it, if you're like in a pressurized ship and something like a Vandal pod came in, or the Liberator was able to do the same thing more or less, as soon as that kinetic energy hit and exploded a hole through the thing, it would either evacuate the air or create a shockwave that basically flattened everybody in there. So we wouldn't be worrying about getting flashbanged or anything.
I could see everybody getting knocked down once you breach atmosphere and it has an explosive decompression. Like everybody just hits the floor because they get just knocked off their ass. But I mean, the truth of the matter
And
is that if you're
and
breaching
that sudden stop
and
for
it's
the occupants of the Liberator, oh, nothing will happen to them.
Inertial
yeah,
dampeners. Go ahead, Anubis.
but but
Sorry.
but I mean, the truth of the matter is, if we're gonna be breaching these things, it better be, oh yeah, you want to bust in there and just fucking make
You're
an
gonna be Macho
entrance, and
Man
it's
Randy
just gonna
Savage
be,
it?
no, you're a Kool-Aid man. You're gonna bust through
Kool-Aid
that
Man it.
wall.
Oh, Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah,
Sounded like Macho Man.
maybe make it dramatic where you could kind of see like the metal starting to melt away, and you're like, oh shit, they're gonna break through, they're gonna bust through any moment, and you're worried and worried, and all of a sudden, and then you just fucking take them out or whatever, or they take you out because you suck. I mean, but either way, I mean, that dramatic entrance is what it's all about. If they just make it like, oh, let me hit the keys on the keypad and just like beep 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 beep. Ah,
Well, the door's still going to open, right? And then you're still going to walk through it and then fight your way forward.
yeah, but I mean, I want a Kool-Aid man.
You want to Kool-Aid Man it. Okay.
I'm really
Yeah.
looking for a Legionnaire.
Okay. Understandable.
But
Uh,
getting back to crafting and the new mining
Is
changes
it
and
being for
stuff,
show?
has it been confirmed that it's 4.7, or they're quote unquote trying to bring it in 4.7?
Today's update says
The
it's
official word is
official.
tentative.
They always say
right.
that though.
Yeah, I think that's as confirmation as they're
Close as
willing
we're
to
gonna
give
get.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A very low-key dev will explain this in the calmest tone, ever.
Another Another
Can
interesting thing
we?
I heard mentioned a few times in some videos I watched this week when they were talking about um, the new mining changes, the new crafting implementations, and so forth. A couple of folks were talking about, well, supposedly they're moving stuff that was developed for Squadron 42 into the PTU, and that's
Mhm.
where we're at now. So if that's the case, shouldn't all that already be fleshed out in 42 if that's supposed to be released this year and they're just tweaking things? It
Which
seems
I
like
don't think
things?
it's
Squadron 42 is a
Yeah, which
mining
thing?
game.
like anything.
Well, I don't think there's crafting in Squadron 42. Um, I mean, I don't know. At this point, it seems like most of the things they're bringing from Squadron are more like the core tech, like the Vulcan. like getting some of these things that they've optimized for Squadron to work in the PU, which is a very
Well,
different animal.
I have no
And the
idea
combat stuff.
if mining and resource gathering is going to be part of anything in Squadron 42. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't
doubt
think
it.
anybody could say yes or one way or the other.
I mean, you're in the military training to fly the F-8C, presumably. I don't think
You're-
gemstone
Well,
mining is in there.
the other thing that is kind of concerning about when I heard those statements was the whole flight model. It seems like it's constantly in development. Shouldn't that already be
Yeah.
fleshed out in Squadron 42 and kind of fixed, and we're working on release? And they're still
No,
In
at the moment.
theory, it's fleshed out for the fighters class, the things that you're going to be flying in the game. It's probably done for them, but for nothing else.
Yeah, I see what you mean, though, Rick.
Yeah.
I've had the same thought.
Well, to me, it just seems kind of concerning because the cinematics that we've been presented of 42, there's all these fighters. There's like medium-sized ships. There's super gigantic ships. They're all in the same space, so they all have to, unless everything is super on rails, which will be super disappointing if that's how that game plays out. If there's no risk to you dying or being incapacitated and having to restart the mission per se, if it's a single player game, I'm guessing it's going to be a cinematic type of quest, mission, whatever, that you play through. And some of the stuff is going to be scripted on rails. You have to go move to A to B to continue the story, but there's going to, hopefully, part of the quote unquote game is you have to fight the aliens, you have to fly the ship, you have to shoot the gun. It's not just totally on rails and you're just along for the ride. So if that's the case, then there has to be some model. There has to be some sort of shooting model, armor, shields, all this stuff. Unless they're just going to, phone it in and the numbers are the numbers. I don't know how else to put it.
It makes so the selection of ships, as was hinted at before, is vastly different. Like, we're talking a dozen probably ships that will be flyable in Squadron 42, all fighter part, and then really big ships. Like, that doesn't. The really big ships will probably mostly be on rails. So, I mean, that's to be expected. You're not going to be carrying out fleet actions as an admiral or whatever. It's the fighters. It's World War II dogfighting in space. Remember, that's what Chris wants.
Yeah.
And that's easy enough to
But aren't
get done for a
the
handful.
flyable ships in 42? Those are also ships that are available in PTU.
Yes, but you don't have to balance them the same way.
Hmm.
They're a very different balance for when you're fighting against just NPCs in a closed environment that is a primarily cinematic experience, as we've seen at least from the Squadron 42 demo, compared to anywhere, anything.
That statement kind of ruined Squadron 42 for me a little bit. Because
I
my
don't know what you were
vision of
expecting then.
I'll explain it to you. My vision of the way this whole universe of Star Citizen and the Star Citizen / Squadron 42 was going to work is, like a lot of games, they start off with a main story queue, and for the PTU, the main story quest was basically Squadron 42. This is where you learn to fly. This is where you learn to use this. This is besides being an awesome game and quest in a long form story / quest / mission, whatever vernacular you want to use, that brings you into the open world PTU Star Citizen. Once you complete the main game, Squadron 42, continue your adventure in the persistent universe. Come join us. That kind of thing.
Well, No, it's more akin to GTA. So you have your single player story, and then you start playing online because
Yeah, but
you
I played the full GTA. I didn't play GTA until about 2 years ago. Okay, and I played the full mission before I ever went online. I
exactly.
played through the whole story, but by playing through the whole story, that prepared me because I knew how to drive, I knew how to shoot weapons, I knew the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, but that's not a required thing to go online. I mean, it's not a tutorial for the
No,
greater
but
game.
And the
But
mechanics aren't one for one the
well, I'm
same.
not saying
That's
everybody
the
has
oh yeah,
to.
definitely.
I don't think everybody has to share my vision. I was just describing my vision of
Y-
what sold Squadron 42 and the persistent uniform. This is how I took it in. This was my dream, my hope, my desire. I'm not saying this
He
is
Well,
what it is
literally
let's
for
told us
not
me.
we have to accept it or
let,
die.
let's not let your hopes die now because
Exactly.
we don't. We're not sure. But more importantly, folks, we do have one last caller
Oh,
coming more towards the end of
no.
the show now. But
late.
uh, it's okay. He made it. He made it. Uh, let's bring him up right away here. We got Broccoli Rob. Come on up, Broccoli. Broccoli, you got a little hand there. There we go.
Do you get me?
We hear you.
All right. What's going on, y'all?
Hey,
Well,
Are
Broccoli,
you getting crafty in the verse?
we're talking about craftiness.
I hope to be come the end of March. I'm
Optimistic.
I mean, it's gonna happen. The
So
way
what do you
I'm
see? What do you see yourself doing? How are you going to engage with crafting?
uh short term, just testing, having fun with it. Uh maybe getting little buffs here and there. As I saw in the tech preview, you can like eke out like barely a buff on some things, which will be fun and make me feel like I have more ownership over that thing because I went out and sourced the materials and made it myself. Kind of leaning into that whole ownership thing that I've been looking for in this game. So everything's not just random bit of armor or just a random gun or a random ship with guns on it. It can feel more like mine.
So you're more excited about the
It's just giving me a thought. I wonder if our materials are weight based, and if we'd be able to craft like a lightweight FS9 that doesn't give you a speed penalty.
I
Oh,
didn't
that'd be
see weight
interesting.
as a stat option you could change.
That might be
Yeah, but
something they add.
I do know there's sort of like gives and takes with, and not currently, but they've talked about upgrading in a certain direction so that fire rate goes up, but recoil goes up also. Like it's not like a direct buff. It's sort of changing things for what you are looking for.
We have a question.
basically, for every increase, there's a decrease or penalty
Yeah.
on another slider, basically, which is very, very well. That's a good design for a lot of different crafting methodologies in a lot of different games. You can make it hit harder, but it doesn't have the range. Or like Broccoli said, you can make it fire faster, but it's got more recoil, so it's less accurate. Or
I think
you
ultimately I'm looking for what I'm always looking for in this game, the why. Why am I doing it? I made this thing. I spent the time to find the materials to do all that. The why is because it's a little bit better. And that might help me out. It might not, but it might. And even the idea of that is enough for me.
so you're looking for the personal refinement of these things rather than the going to some like legendary gunsmith.
I hope to be that guy in some things.
Okay.
Like I kind of want to be able to craft a handful of things really well, or have like a handful of really nice blueprints that I can then, market and go around and sell and, have fun with that, but also make things for myself.
Yeah,
Well,
and then people
to
come to you
make
with
that
good,
happen,
good shit to make it.
we need two things. We need some sort of market that we can interact with, and secondly, we need to have built-in scarcity.
Space Amazon.
There's got to
Peter
be
in
some
chat
way.
asks,
Merchant
is there going to be any integration between crafting and salvage/repair?
I think they
I would
talked
think
about
so.
dismantling.
Salvage,
right?
yeah, because RMC is a temporary thing, or whatever the munching material is. They're eventually you're going to break down the ships into what they're actually made of, like iron and not tin, unless we're talking Drake, but little, like it's actual component parts.
Shots fired.
Yeah,
I think the
correct.
RMC is
Gotcha.
supposed to be the same way.
Yeah, it's supposed to be what
There's
it
ways
actually
to go
took to
with
make
this.
it. So that's exciting.
And then once that's in, then we're only a couple of more dreams and steps away from building our own ships.
Base building.
Well, we're gonna
Base
have to make
building.
screws, and then panels, and then we have to engineer wiring, and then connectors.
I'm here for
Don't
it.
forget the
Can't wait.
Valacar teeth to make your glass.
Of course. But that's what that future glass is made of.
Oh, isn't it like plasteel or something like that? Something super strong.
Yeah, like
Like glass.
transparent steel.
Transparent
But-
aluminum.
Yeah, you talk into your
Multi-pass.
mouse to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Glad everybody
but-
got that.
Yeah, it's just the longer term. I think it's going to be cool to. Fuck, how do I say it? Like everyone sort of, as I went back and watched the building your home, which had everything about blueprints in it, and there's going to be over 1,000 blueprints, and I'm guessing they're going to take a lot of rep in a lot of different places to have. So I'm guessing everyone's not going to be able to get these. Everyone's not going to be able to grind out 1,000 blueprints. So it'll be cool to kind of work with your org mates to have different like niches that they fill. Like someone climbs really high in the cargo guild, and then they've got access to X, Y, and Z blueprints, and you're doing cargo to a little like certain extent, but not as much as they are. And you're like, hey, can you make this for me if I find you the pieces? I'm like, yeah, sure. Do you need, I don't know, I'm with the Mercenaries Guild. Do you need like a gun or this, that, or the other thing? So it'll be fun to sort of have that relationship that needs to be built.
Peter in chat says unpopular because he didn't show up to actually talk himself. Unpopular take. I'm not thrilled about crafting. I think it's just going to make it harder to get top gear, which only rewards the unemployed who can spend most time in game.
Lucky for Skeeter, he's in a good guild.
Org. As someone with limited playtime myself, I can see where he's coming from. But I think there's going to be a player economy really quick, where you'll be able to purchase a lot of this stuff.
I think that's game design for the least common denominator, and I hate that. Oh, well, we have to design the game for those people who don't have time to play the game. Well, that's not my problem.
Right.
It's also forcing people to interact with each other in a,
Ugh.
MMO.
God, what an insane
In an MMO,
That's the
what
worst.
MMO interacting with each other.
That's the worst.
Nonsense.
Yeah. And it's gonna, it would be nice if but people that have a bunch of time are gonna have the time no matter how the game is built. So
True. Yeah.
if it takes an hour to grind out a blueprint, then that just means they'll have, 12 times as many blueprints.
And I'm sorry, I don't like the idea that, oh, well, the only reason I'm not as good as other people is because they're unemployed. I mean, no, sorry. But there are plenty of really great players out there that have ground their stuff and put everything they have into it because that's what they do when they get off of work. And that's just an excuse when someone tells themselves, "Oh, well, they're just in a place they're gonna have an advantage over me." No, like honestly, it
Yes,
really
They're
Skeeter.
not.
isn't.
They're not just unemployed. They also have no life outside of that. You
Yeah,
have to be.
yeah.
You have to be
So
specific,
if you want to compete, be a bigger nerd.
right?
Just
Yeah.
saying.
Duh.
That's the point
And
of the
all your
video game.
friendships. And your friendships. Tell your friends and family. You don't want to speak to them
Have no
anymore.
relationships with anyone.
Yeah.
I
Stop
Yes.
going out. Don't read any books.
Yeah.
it
I
does
mean,
it listen, in the human experience, no matter what it is, the more time you invest, the better you become. That's just
Sometimes.
part of the human condition
I know, man.
for the most part.
I still miss the toilet seat
Overall,
sometimes.
I mean, are there shitty players that have 10,000 hours in whatever game title? Of course. But overall,
yeah, but they're
if you
blaming
find
everybody else
somebody with
instead of
10,000 hours, he's an expert at almost everything that has to do with that title. Or if you have a master carpenter that's got 10 years in the carpentry field, and there's a new apprentice with 6 months in, the 10-year veteran is going to have the experience. That's just the nature of life
Be
and
how it be.
time.
And that's not to
Well,
say the
speaking.
apprentice isn't talented. It's just the 10-year veteran just kind of like knows the workflow and has a better grip of it.
That's what you call
Could be.
talent.
Well, speaking of time, I'm afraid we are coming to the end of our time here tonight. And we're going to end our show the way we usually do. We're going to go in reverse order here. And we're going to start with Broccoli Rob. Broccoli, is there anything that you'd like to say to Chris Roberts, the folks at CIG, or the people on the internet?
Make it hard to get a lot of blueprints. Make them choose which blueprints they want to get and make them think really long and hard about it.
Okay. Should we limit the number of blueprints?
No, I think soft, in a soft sense, yes. I don't think you should be a master in every guild. I think you're going to have to pick one, maybe two, depending on how much time you have. But I think it should be you should have to interact with other people to get a large amount of access to what the blueprints make.
Okay. Wicket, do you have anything you'd like to say to Chris Roberts, CIG, or the people on the internet?
Well, Sandy, it's your turn again. Make
Okay.
sure your
There he
husband
goes,
pays
Hold on.
attention to the show. We
harassing
spent a
this
lot.
woman.
We talked about a lot of good ideas. No, it's not harassment. It's just a nudge.
He's
It's
just making
definitely
sure she's checking
harassment.
her notes.
I'll tell that to the
Yeah.
judge.
If we were to compile all the times you've said Sandy, it'd be a 4-hour show.
Oh, Sandy, can't you see? No, nobody else.
What's wrong with that?
I went straight to Grease. on
Ask the courts what's wrong with that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure at this point it's legally actionable.
No,
All right.
it's not like I'm
LordAnubis.
standing outside of somebody's house.
Not yet, as far as we know.
Not yet.
Lord
Hearing
Anubis, is
this
there
guy
anything you'd
calling
like to
in.
say to Chris Roberts, the people at CIG, or the folks on the internet?
Yes, Sig. I'm glad you're here to hear what we have to say. Thank you for sitting down with us. I wanted to reiterate that we pay you, and we are your ultimate bosses, and we are the boss of you. So copy a Star Wars Galaxy. It's the best game ever made, and if you don't, then I'm going to sue you. So do it.
Okay. Again, just copy a, what I say, 23-year-old defunct video game. And
You say defunct, and I say it's actually like has been
Defund.
resurrected by the community because like it's that good. I'm just saying. Just
Okay.
saying, you don't know.
All right.
How do you know,
I don't know.
Duke?
I
Little
don't know. I don't know.
Dude.
Little.
Dukey
All right.
Little.
Udo, anything you'd like to say to Chris Roberts, the people at CIG, or the folks on the internet?
I would like a crafting machine installed on the 600i rework.
What, a 3D printer on there?
Yeah, it doesn't have one. Stupid Drake Clippers got one though. So does the Crack.
Okay.
You should have like a little one on all ships, so you can like at least make a multi-tool or something like that.
I mean, we got the wheel around one, but that takes up cargo space. I'm talking about one that's installed in the wall.
Yeah. The magic food hole that makes your meals for you.
called a
Yeah. When are we
kitchen.
going to get our food cookers cooking?
Yeah.
That's
Because,
Coffee
crafty,
machine
right?
still doesn't work.
yeah, I want to
When
make
are we going to
space
be able to
noodles.
play? Yeah, when are we
I
going to
wanna
be able to
make-
play video games in the ships? Doesn't the Harbinger have that?
No, but a lot of the
Doesn't?
space
The
stations
Apollo-
do. Space stations have lots of arcade machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play some Galaga.
Before you shut down, can I interject
Oh,
two
he's
more
going to
things
mention
real
Sandy
quick?
again.
I
No,
know.
promise.
It's gonna
I'll
be
give
about
you.
Sandy.
I'll give you what you can have 1.5 things. Okay, go ahead.
First thing, the Drake Clipper is not stupid. And second,
Okay.
more
Bad start
importantly,
already.
more importantly, in Jar Jar's absence, I think Duke and Hobo, you guys did a wonderful job. That's
Well,
all.
thank you, Wicket.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad I
Hopefully
didn't mute
next
you.
week I won't sound like this.
Wicket's just trying to suck up right now. Jesus.
Well, it's working.
It's
Okay.
working.
Wicket, you
He
get an
has
extra
stroked my
100
ego.
open com points.
Oh man.
Right. I'm going to abuse my power as the host today to ask Hobo. Can you play us out?
My God, you want me to do that right now? Okay.
I do.
Let me get a cough out of the way first. 1 second.
Be a trumpet.
Okay.
Da 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 da.